Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So on today's video, I'm going to help you understand two things. One is that I'm going to help you absorb the Israel-Palestine conflict that is happening and what impact is it going to have on the Indian stock market. Second key point is around which type of stocks or what specific stocks are going to take a hit due to this crisis. I'll explain the entire story in 5-6 simple points, so please make notes. You don't need to watch any other video on this topic to at least understand the stock market side impact of this ongoing crisis. So let's begin, and the first key point that you need to understand is that the contribution of Israel or Palestine on the world trade, world economy is very limited to begin with. Recently, the Russia-Ukraine crisis has already happened. The investor community has been somewhat prepared. And Russia-Ukraine के case में the size or the impact of that crisis was slightly more, right, from a world economy, world trade point of view. Why? Because Russia has a lot of connections to the West. They supply energy to the West, and West controls a big part of the world economy. So, agar anything impacts the West, it kind of hits the Indian stock market, Indian economy indirectly, quite extensively. So, this is the first key point that we have seen the entire Russia-Ukraine war play out. It's not as if that stock market dibba ho gaya tha and you should stop investing. 1930s type depression ho gaye, वगैरह वगैरह. In the Palestine-Israel war conflict, the impact or the scale of the impact is going to be slightly lower than that, or a lot lower than that. So this is part A. Part B, कि भाई कोई impact ही नहीं होगा, or is there going to be some kind of indirect impact? So yes, there is going to be an indirect impact in the form of the oil prices. Now, Iran supplies a lot of oil. They control a lot of oil in the world. India is heavily dependent in terms of importing oil to meet its energy needs. And therefore, you would have seen today, if you're tracking the stock market, that paint stocks, Asian Paints ho gaya, Indigo Paints ho gaya, they fell quite a bit. Why? Because oil acts as an input raw material for all these companies, and if there is like oil related tension and the prices of oil go up, the input cost for a lot of companies also go up. Now the third related point here is, and this is slightly mid to long term, here the point that you need to understand is that the Middle East absorbs a lot of money from the West. And I'm currently in Dubai, and I have personally seen कि यार real estate में पैसा दबा के आ रहा है from the West, like Americans invest, Russians invest, वगैरह वगैरह. This crisis, in a way, as diabolic as it seems, it in the long term, mid term, it is actually going to help India because Middle East is risk money, and यहाँ पे जितनी conflicts होंगी, it is indirectly going to push Western investors more towards Eastern economies, so to say, rather than going to the Middle East. They'll say, yeah, Dubai में क्या invest करना? We'll go to like another growth economy, for example, India or Southeast Asia में Malaysia, वगैरह वगैरह. So that is what is going to happen from a mid to long term in case there is no respite to this crisis. Final point that you need to know about the Israel-Palestine war is very simple, that this has been ongoing for a bit. I'm not a war expert. I don't know what exactly is going to happen, what the outcome of the war is. I can't comment on all those stuffs, but what I can typically tell you is that it is not at a scale where the investor community of the West or of India is going to struggle quite a bit. Final point on this note, this is really the final point, that India's market has been doing well for the last 18 months, 2 years, despite the world economy tumbling. The reason is the domestic consumption. So this ongoing war does not hit our domestic consumption quite a bit. Indirect impact sabhi ko hota hai, but domestic consumption does not take a hit. This rise of domestic consumption or this domestic growth story is being played out everywhere. The world economy is getting more and more localized with the rise of far right. Separate video on that topic. But to cut the long story short, it does not hit the India's growth story because our economy is growing somewhat due to domestic consumption. So this is the first pillar that you must understand. Now the second key pillar that you need to understand is around the earnings of the company and regarding the FII or foreign investors rebalancing their portfolio. This is a point that many people would not understand or would not talk much about, but I am trying to give you a lot more clarity on this topic. So इस point पे आपने समझने वाली बात ये है that when it comes to earnings, the earnings are getting softer for the company. They are getting weaker for the company. Why? Because there was an immediate bounce back after the 2021-2022 sort of downfall in the stock market. बहुत ज़्यादा करेक्ट कर गया था मार्केट एंड द रिजल्ट्स वर mismatched from that point. So the company started posting decent results, but in the hindsight, they looked really well, right? So there was a immediate bounce back in terms of earnings, stock market sentiments. Now those earnings need to sustain. Some other trigger of productivity growth needs to come. Where will that come from? That clarity is not there. So therefore, it is assumed that for the next 1-2 quarters, the companies are not going to post exceptional returns. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि बहुत महान results आ गए, but it is not as if that because of this crisis, the earnings of the company will fall and Asian Paints will become a bad company. All that stuff is unlikely to happen. On top of this, you need to relate the macro that there has been a lot of talks about oil prices, which I've covered on my previous video. Please go and watch it. I also do a lot of YouTube stock market commentary. In case you are a serious investor, my urge would be to test out that stock investing community, be a part of it. You will learn a lot of quick updates that I keep on giving on a daily basis. Just try it for a couple of months. You yourself will see a result. But anyways, back to topic. What you need to understand is that interest rates are being played around. Abhi tak narrative ye tha that interest rates are going to fall, and the moment the interest rates are cut, the stock markets are going to rally. US wale aaye, US ka bank aaye, here the central bank in the US, they said that, you know what, we'll wait and watch. Inflation problem hasn't completely gone away. Our labor market is doing exceptionally well. So we don't know how this inflation situation is going to handle from this point and how it's going to pan out. So you'll just wait and watch. So this spooked the market. You know what, the interest rate, they are not going to cut. क्या करें, right? So there is a lot of uncertainty regarding interest rate. There is a lot of uncertainty regarding this Israel-Palestine war. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि इसकी वजह से there is very limited chance कि कुछ nuclear हो जाएगा वाली चीज़, but it is unlikely कि बहुत ज़्यादा कुछ होगा. But these uncertainty and using these uncertainties, what the FII or big investors और जिनको operators बोलते हैं, what they end up doing is that they end up rebalancing their portfolio. Always understand that FIIs, big investors, they like to buy cheap and they will discount the market using uncertainties. News चला देंगे कि सब कुछ खराब हो गया है, like, you know, Israel Palestine is just going to take the entire world down with it. आप डर जाओगे, right? Similarly, you know, the US Fed, if there is a not very clear commentary from the central bank, they'll say कि, you know what, क्या होने वाला है कि अच्छा ये बस इंटरेस्ट रेट तो बस हो गया, राइट? आई मीन सब बुरा ही बुरा होगा फ्रॉम दिस पॉइंट, देन नहीं घट रहा इंटरेस्ट रेट, एंड देयरफॉर इफ यू आर एन इन्वेस्टर इन द स्टॉक मार्केट यू विल लूज अ लॉट ऑफ मनी. सो यू अगेन विल गेट पैनिक्ड. प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड दैट दिस पैनिक इज डेलिबरेटली क्रिएटेड. 10 different media outlets are going to come and start saying like 10 negative things. You will get spooked and you will sell your portfolio and go away. Now please understand your nature of investing, that if you are an investor, आपने 2-3 साल के लिए तो पैसा डाला था, for 2-3 years you have put your money, so please stay put. Don't keep on tracking the market every single day. If you're a trader, then it's a different story. As a trader, you can't handle the volatility too much many a times, so उसमें आपको you have to put your stop loss, see what type of positions you can carry forward, not carry forward. So I'm not going to comment too much on the trading community. I'm trying to build an investing community. If you're an investor, please stop checking your portfolio for the next month and a half. It will come back to that 20,000 levels. Just explaining very quickly about stock specific commentary and the Nifty levels. The Nifty can very well fall to 18,800 from this point. It can very well happen, but please understand that a high of 20,000 plus has already been made in the past. That high is definitely, or like very high certainty, it is going to get hit sooner rather than we think. So from that perspective, please be bullish. There is no need to be negative on this entire issue. Now talking about stock specific segments, what stocks are going to get hit the most? I think paint stock पे बहुत negative narrative बनाया जाएगा and they are going to be brought down. They have already started coming down. Do you need to worry? Do you need to sell your stocks? I'm personally not selling. I'm not doing anything on that. I am rather going to build more positions. Second, IT stocks. I don't think that there is any major direct correlation here with the Palestine-Israel war. But yes, again, news can be created कि IT stocks खराब है, growth नहीं होगी, you know, external issues and exports कम हो जाएंगे. I don't think that that is going to play out. IT cycle is more impacted with the unemployment. To what extent the top 5-6 tech companies are expanding and putting money in, it gets more impacted by that rather than these type of considerations. Third, and more importantly, are the domestic banks in India. They look solid. They look at a lower level in terms of valuation. Nothing bad is going to happen, but one key negative point that is happening in the banking sector is the outlay of debt, the increase of debt and the rate at which loans are being given. They are being given out at a very crazy rate. ये bubble burst होगा. How soon? I don't know. But you have to lower your positions. That is what typically I am also doing. Tomorrow I'll write a detailed post on small finance banks. I've cut some of my positions on small finance bank. I feel that they will be the first one to go in case a down cycle starts happening from this point. So lowering your risk makes a lot of sense, especially given the rise of the credit economy. Other than that, if you're looking at consumer durables, wo aaj bhi nahi गिरे, and I think they have bottomed out, so nothing major is going to happen. Final point is around understanding the difference between drawdowns and a fall in the market. Drawdowns, 5-10%, 15%, it keeps on happening almost every 1-2 years. 10-15% fall from the peak can happen anytime, right? For whatever reasons. But is that the start of a bear run? The short answer is no, that's not the start of the bear run. If you're not bullish about the market, if you get scared by every incident that is happening in the stock market, you will be fearful and you will lose more money by sitting on the sidelines, not investing. You have to understand these stats that almost 60%, 50 to 60% of the time, the market stays sideways, 20-30% of the time it goes up, and 10% of the time it corrects. So please play the math, play the statistic, and stay invested. If you're an investor, if you enjoyed this commentary, do consider subscribing, and please watch this video around portfolio building next. It will help you understand the risk on your portfolio and construct a portfolio that you are happy holding.